The research station floated silently above the blue and green planet. It was a small outpost, far from Earth, built for study and exploration. The crew had been here for months, living in metal walls and recycled air. Every day was quiet and routine, until the signal came. It started as a small blip on the radar. At first, the crew thought it was a mistake, just noise from the sensors. But the signal repeated, steady and strange. No one had seen anything like it before. It was not from any known star, not from any human colony. It was different. Dr. Elena Ramirez, the lead scientist, stared at the screen. Her eyes widened. "It's not natural," she said. Her voice was calm, but inside she felt a shiver. "This is intelligence. Someone, or something, is out there." Some of the crew were excited. Others were scared. Lieutenant Harris, the security officer, frowned. "We should not respond," he said. "We don't know what it is. This could be dangerous." Elena shook her head. "If we stay silent, we miss a chance. Humanity has always reached further. We cannot stop now. We have to respond." The others hesitated. Captain Jonas, a tall man with grey streaks in his hair, finally spoke. "We will respond. But carefully. No risky moves. We just say hello. We make contact." The crew worked quickly. They prepared a simple message, greetings from humanity, peaceful, curious, but strong. When the message was sent, the station hummed, almost like it held its breath. At first, nothing happened. Then the signal returned, stronger than before. It was not a voice, not even sound. It was images, moving shapes, impossible geometries. The crew watched in silence. Shadows of strange cities, glowing with lights they had never seen, flashed on the monitors. It felt alive, as if the station itself trembled. A sudden alarm rang. Lights flickered. The air seemed heavier. Lieutenant Harris grabbed the console. "Something is wrong. The systems, they're changing. Gravity, it's not right." Elena felt it too. Her stomach sank. "It's reacting to our message," she whispered. "It knows we are here." The crew tried to keep calm. They checked the sensors, the engines, the communications. Everything was failing slowly, like the station was losing its life. And then, shadows moved. Not in the monitors, but in the hallways. One crew member swore he saw someone standing at the corner of the lab, but when he called out, no one was there. Tension filled the metal halls. Every creak, every flicker of light, made the crew jump. No one spoke for long minutes. The only sound was the hum of the station and the strange signal repeating, faster and louder. Captain Jonas tried to keep control. "Everyone, stay focused. Check the systems. We don't panic. We are trained for this." But the signal was growing. It was no longer just images. It seemed to reach into their minds, showing visions that were not real but felt real. Memories twisted, fears appeared out of nowhere, doubts crept into hearts. Even Elena, the most confident scientist, felt fear clawing at her mind. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the storage bay. Lieutenant Harris ran. When he arrived, the bay was empty. But the supplies were scattered, floating as if invisible hands had tossed them. No one could explain it. The crew gathered in the control room, whispering urgently. "We should shut it down," Harris said. "Stop all contact. Cut the signal." Elena shook her head again. "We can't. It's too late. We have to understand it. We need to see what it wants." Minutes passed. Then, without warning, one crew member screamed. Everyone rushed to his side. His eyes were wide, staring into nothing. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Then, in a blink, he vanished. The room was silent. The monitors flickered. The signal was stronger than ever, like it was laughing or watching. Captain Jonas's hand shook. "We have made a mistake," he said quietly. "A big mistake." Elena stared at the screens. She wanted to feel fear, but instead, a strange curiosity burned inside her. "We cannot go back now. Whatever this is, it knows we exist. And now it is waiting." The station floated above the planet, silent again. But it was not the same station. The shadows moved. The signal pulsed. Something had arrived that no human had ever faced. And somewhere deep in space, a presence watched, patient, knowing, and not entirely friendly. The crew was trapped, not by walls, but by the choice they had made. And the first night after the signal, none of them slept. They did not know what would come next, but one thing was certain: they had opened a door, and it could never be closed. The crew could not sleep. The signal from deep space had changed everything. It was no longer a distant blip. They felt it in the walls, in the air, even inside their minds. Shadows moved in corners. Strange whispers floated through the corridors. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow darker. Dr. Elena Ramirez paced the control room. Her hands trembled slightly, but her mind raced faster. "We have to understand it," she said. "We cannot ignore this. It is trying to communicate." Lieutenant Harris shook his head. "It is dangerous. I warned you, Elena. We don't know what it is. And now, look what has happened. One of our crew is gone." Captain Jonas rubbed his temples. "We cannot panic. We need a plan. First, we stabilize the station. Second, we try to send a careful message. Third," he stopped. He could not finish. The third step was terrifying, facing what might respond. The crew worked in tense silence. Every monitor, every sensor, every system was checked and double-checked. But the signal kept coming, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was faster now, brighter, almost alive. The images on the screen were no longer simple geometries. They showed strange cities, impossible machines, and creatures that seemed to move just at the edge of perception. Elena tried to focus on the science. She traced patterns in the signal, trying to decode its meaning. But every time she thought she understood, the signal shifted. It was smart. It was learning. And it was watching them. Harris noticed the crew was changing. Subtle at first, small things, voices that grew sharp, eyes that darted nervously, hands that trembled. Then arguments started. Small disagreements turned into fights. One crew member accused another of hiding information. Another refused to follow orders. The station, once a place of safety, became a pressure cooker of fear. Elena realized the signal was affecting their minds. "It's not just information," she whispered. "It's influence. It wants us to panic. It wants us to fight each other." Captain Jonas frowned. "Then we ignore it. We focus on the mission. We survive." But ignoring it was impossible. The signal grew stronger. Lights flickered, gravity shifted slightly, and strange sounds echoed in empty corridors. Sometimes, crew members saw glimpses of figures that were not human. Shadows that moved like living beings, shapes that disappeared when approached. Then the message came. Not in images, not in words, but in a voice that sounded inside their heads. Clear, cold, and precise. "You cannot hold what you do not understand." The crew froze. No one spoke. The message repeated. It was not angry. It was not threatening. It was a statement of fact, a warning. And yet, it carried a weight that made their hearts pound. Elena took a deep breath. "It's telling us, we are not ready. But we have already answered. We cannot stop now. We have to see this through." Harris clenched his fists. "You don't understand. It is dangerous. Every second we wait, it is learning more about us. We should shut it down, cut the connection." Elena shook her head. "If we cut it, we lose the chance to understand. We risk falling behind. Humanity cannot afford that." Captain Jonas made a decision. "We continue, but cautiously. We observe. We document. We do not act rashly." 4 hours, the crew watched the monitors. The images became more complex, almost hypnotic. Structures that defied physics, creatures with endless limbs, stars that moved unnaturally. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And it was alive. Suddenly, the station shook. Alarms blared. Systems failed. Gravity shifted violently. Crew members struggled to stay on their feet. Elena grabbed the console. The signal, It's responding to us. It's interacting. Harris barked orders. Everyone, secure yourselves. Don't touch anything unnecessary. Stay together. But the station was no longer safe. Doors locked randomly. Lights went out and on. The signal pulsed in the corridors like a living presence. One by one, the crew began to see visions, memories twisted, fears made real. Captain Jonas called out, his voice echoing in the chaos. We are making a mistake. We have to get control. Then it happened. Another crew member disappeared. One moment they were arguing near the lab, the next, they were gone. No trace. No sound. Just silence. The remaining crew stared at each other, fear in their eyes. The signal had claimed 2 of their team. And it was not done. Elena swallowed hard. We have awakened something, she said quietly. Something that watches, learns, and tests us. We cannot fight it with weapons. We cannot fight it with logic. Only with careful choices. Harris shook his head. I warned you. You wanted to defy humanity's caution, and now look. We are trapped. There is no turning back. Captain Jonas looked at the glowing monitors, the shadows in the corners, the flickering lights. We survive by staying calm, he said. And by staying alive. That is all we can do for now. The signal pulsed again, brighter than ever. It filled the room, filling their minds. And for the first time, the crew realized they were no longer just observers. They had become part of something far bigger, far older, and far more dangerous than they could imagine. And somewhere in the dark void of space, the presence that had watched them from the beginning waited patiently, knowing humanity had already made its first mistake. The station shook violently. Red alarms flashed across every console. Crew members clung to railings and walls, struggling to keep their balance as the artificial gravity wavered. Outside the windows, the stars twisted unnaturally. Then, through the reinforced glass, they saw it. A massive alien craft hovered above the planet, its surface glimmering like liquid metal. Its shape was unlike anything humans had built or imagined. There were no wings, no engines, yet it moved with precision and intent. The signal had drawn it here, and now it was watching. Captain Jonas grabbed the console. All systems, report. His voice shook, though he tried to stay calm. Harris frowned at the readings. Life support is fluctuating. Shields are barely holding. The engines, they won't respond properly. It's like the ship is fighting us. Elena's eyes were glued to the monitors. It's intelligent, she whispered. It adapts to everything we do. Even our defensive systems, nothing works like it should. The crew tried to stay together, but panic spread quickly. Some refused orders. Small arguments turned into shouting matches. One crew member shoved another, their faces twisted with fear. The signal had reached deeper into their minds, twisting thoughts, feeding doubt, and amplifying paranoia. Suddenly, the station doors hissed open, and shadows moved in the hallways. The crew froze. Shapes that were almost human, yet not, slipped silently through the corridors. They blended perfectly with the crew, making it impossible to tell friend from foe. Harris raised his weapon, shaking. They're inside. Some of them, they're already here. Elena felt a cold dread. It's not just watching now. It's inside us, inside our minds, our station. It's everywhere. Captain Jonas took a deep breath. We have to fight. If we don't, none of us survive. The crew rallied, moving in tight groups through the corridors. They tried to seal doors and block passages, but the shadows were faster. They seemed to know where the humans would go before they moved. Each confrontation was brief but terrifying. One crew member disappeared without a sound, leaving only a swirl of air and floating objects in their place. Elena and Harris tried to reach the communication array. They needed to warn Earth, to call for help. But every system they touched malfunctioned. The alien craft outside pulsed with energy that interfered with every signal. Their only chance was to hack into the signal itself, to use it against the invaders. As they worked, the alien presence spoke directly in their minds. You are already part of us. Resistance is irrelevant. The words chilled them. They felt the pressure of something far older and smarter than humanity, a presence that could bend reality, alter thought, and erase life. But still, they worked. Elena's fingers flew over the console. Harris tried to stabilize the power flow, his hands trembling. Then, chaos exploded. A massive shockwave shook the station. Panels ripped from the walls. Lights shattered. Gravity inverted briefly, tossing the crew across the room. The alien craft outside responded instantly, hovering closer, almost as if it could see every movement in the station. Harris shouted, "We can't hold them. We have to retreat." Captain Jonas took charge. "No. We cannot just run. We fight strategically. Everyone follow my lead." They moved through the station like ghosts, avoiding shadows and repairing critical systems on the fly. Each hallway was a trap, each room a battlefield. Crew members were tested, their courage and loyalty pushed to the limit. Every second, the aliens learned, adapted, and struck harder. In the lab, Elena discovered something unusual. One shadow flickered strangely, leaving behind a brief shimmer of light. It was almost visible for a moment, a clue. She whispered to Harris, "I think I see how they exist here. We can use it. If we act carefully." Harris looked doubtful but nodded. "We have no choice. We try." Captain Jonas led the remaining crew to a control room with a direct view of the alien craft. It loomed outside, immense and silent, pulsing with energy. Jonas turned to Elena. "Do it. Whatever it is, now's the time." Elena initiated a risky procedure, feeding a distorted version of the signal back toward the craft. The lights flickered wildly. Shadows convulsed. The station shook as if it were alive, screaming in metal groans. The alien presence recoiled for a moment, visible in the monitors as a shimmering distortion. It was temporary. The aliens had learned quickly. They adapted, but the humans had bought themselves a small victory, a chance to regroup. Breathing heavily, the crew stared at the monitors. Silence filled the control room, except for the hum of the station and the distant pulse of the alien craft. They had survived, but barely. 2 crew members were gone. Shadows still lingered in the corners. And the alien ship, patient and immense, was still outside, watching, learning. Captain Jonas turned to the remaining crew. "This is only the beginning. We are not safe. We cannot rest. If we want to survive, we have to be smarter, faster, stronger. And we have to understand them before they understand us completely." Elena nodded, feeling both fear and determination. Humanity had defied the unknown. And now, they would pay the price for that defiance. The station floated in the silent darkness of space, a small human outpost against a presence that could reshape reality itself. And somewhere deep inside the alien mind, it waited, patient, knowing, and certain. Humanity had only begun to learn the meaning of fear. The station trembled under the alien presence, but the remaining crew refused to give up. Captain Jonas gathered them in the control room, his voice firm. "We cannot run forever. We have to fight smart. Our weapons are limited, but our minds are not. We find their weakness, and we survive." Elena studied the monitors, replaying every pattern she had seen in the alien craft and the shadows. "They adapt quickly, yes," she said, "but they react to signals. Energy. Anything that interferes with their rhythm. If we can disrupt it enough, we can buy time." Harris frowned. "Buy time for what? They are stronger, faster, smarter. One wrong move, and we're done." Jonas ignored him. "We act now. Everyone, stick to your roles. We fight as a unit, and we do not panic." The crew armed themselves with whatever they could find, experimental energy rifles, pulse grenades, and improvised shields. Shadows still flickered in the corners, watching, learning, waiting. The tension was unbearable, each step echoing like a drumbeat of fear. The alien craft outside pulsed violently, sending waves of energy that shook the station. Every time they tried to fire a weapon, the alien defenses adapted instantly, deflecting the attacks. Elena realized they could not fight it head-on. They needed to be clever. She approached Jonas with a risky plan. "We use the station itself. We feed the alien signals into our systems, then reverse the polarity. It's dangerous, but it could confuse them long enough to give us control of the corridors. Jonas studied her, seeing the determination in her eyes. Do it. Everyone else, follow her lead. Move carefully, stay together. The crew moved like shadows themselves, navigating the station as the alien craft outside pulsed its power. Elena worked at the console, feeding distorted signals into the alien presence. Sparks flew. Screens flickered. The station shook as if alive, reacting to every calculation she made. Harris watched the corridors. Shadows are approaching. They know we are here. True enough, shapes moved closer, blending perfectly with the crew. One of them lunged at a technician, but Harris fired his pulse rifle. The figure vanished, leaving only a ripple in the air. Keep going. Jonas shouted. We have to maintain the signal. Don't stop. Elena's hands flew across the console. Every sequence was precise, every adjustment critical. The alien craft outside shuddered, energy rippling across its surface. Shadows paused in the hallways, confused by the disrupted signal. For the first time, the humans gained control. Doors that had locked automatically now stayed open. Lights stabilized. Gravity returned to normal. The crew could breathe again, but only for a moment. The aliens adapted almost immediately, sensing the manipulation. The craft outside pulsed brighter, sending a shockwave that threw the crew against walls. Panels ripped from ceilings. Alarms screamed. The station groaned. Jonas bellowed orders. Fall back to the lab. Protect Elena. Keep the signal running. The crew fought through the chaos, every second a battle against fear, fatigue, and the alien presence. Shadows still lurked, watching and learning. One by one, the humans relied on instinct, strategy, and courage to survive. Elena's plan worked, but partially. The aliens were confused, slowed, but not defeated. The crew realized they could not win in a direct fight. They needed a bigger plan. Jonas gathered the crew in the lab. We survived this attack because we were smart and calm. But this is only the beginning. They adapt too quickly for brute force. Our next move has to be clever, unpredictable. We have to think like them, anticipate them. Harris ran his hands through his hair. And if we fail? One mistake, one wrong calculation, and the rest of us are gone. Elena looked at the monitors, showing the alien craft outside, pulsing and waiting. Then we don't fail. We use what we know, we plan carefully, and we fight smarter than they expect. This is humanity. We never give up, not even when the odds are against us. The crew nodded, determination replacing fear. They had survived impossible odds, lost some of their friends, and seen horrors no human should ever face. But they had also learned something about themselves, the strength to endure, to fight, and to adapt. Outside, the alien craft waited, enormous and patient. Inside, the humans prepared, knowing that the next battle would decide more than just the station. It could decide the fate of humanity itself. Jonas turned to the crew. We are still here. We are still human. And we will fight. Not just to survive, but to show them that humanity will never be defeated. We are clever. We are strong. And we are not alone. Elena whispered to herself, watching the monitors. They are learning. But so are we. The station floated in silence for a brief moment. The crew caught their breath, hearts pounding, minds sharp. The aliens had come close to breaking them. But humanity had not yet fallen. And somewhere outside, in the dark void of space, the alien presence pulsed, aware that the humans had resisted, that they had adapted, and that the next encounter would be even more dangerous. But the crew had something the aliens did not: human courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to surrender. And that would be their greatest weapon. The station was quiet, but the silence was heavy. The crew moved cautiously, every step measured, every sound echoing like a warning. They had survived the first attack, but something had changed. Fear had settled deeper, and the alien presence was no longer just outside. They could feel it inside the station, in the air, in their thoughts. Captain Jonas gathered the remaining crew. We have slowed them, he said, his voice steady but grim. But we cannot rest. Every moment we waste, they learn more. Every mistake could be our last. Elena nodded, studying the monitors. I've been analyzing the signal. It adapts faster than we can predict, but there's a pattern. If we act too aggressively, we trigger it. But if we act too slowly, it will overwhelm us. Harris ran his hand across his face. And if we do nothing, we die. Tension filled the room. For the first time, the crew began to feel doubt, not just fear of the aliens, but fear of each other. The stress, the long hours, the constant threat, had started to break them. Small arguments erupted over strategy. One crew member accused another of withholding information. Another refused to follow orders. Elena realized the aliens' influence went beyond physical attacks. They were seeding doubt, turning the crew against one another. They are using our minds, she whispered. They know fear. They know weakness. And they are exploiting it. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang through the station. Harris ran to the console. Someone is manipulating the system. The doors, locks are being overridden. Not by them, by us. A crew member, one they had trusted, emerged from the shadows. His eyes were wide, but his voice was calm. We've been doing this wrong, he said. We need to follow them, not fight blindly. This is bigger than us. Jonas frowned. What do you mean? They are testing us, the crew member continued. We cannot win by fighting. We have to surrender control, show we understand, or everything dies. Trust me. It's the only way. Elena felt a chill. You don't know what you're saying. You can't just. But the man interrupted, moving quickly to override systems. Doors sealed, lights flickered, and alarms blared. Shadows began to move freely in the hallways. The crew realized too late, he had betrayed them, swayed by the alien influence. Chaos erupted. The remaining crew tried to stop him, but he was too fast, too precise. Equipment malfunctioned. Systems failed. The station trembled under the alien craft's energy pulses. One by one, crew members were pushed to the edge, forced to fight not only the aliens but each other. Harris shouted, "We are losing control. We need a plan." Elena's mind raced. She remembered the shimmer she had seen in the shadows during the first attack. There had to be a weakness, a way to fight back, even now. If we can manipulate the station itself, she said, we can force them to react, by time, maybe even regain control. Jonas nodded. Do it. We have no choice. The crew split into teams, moving with precision. Some stabilized critical systems, while others lured shadows into traps. Elena worked tirelessly, feeding distorted signals through the station's core, her fingers flying over the console. Sparks flew. Monitors flickered. The station groaned as if alive, reacting to every adjustment she made. The alien craft outside pulsed, sensing resistance. The shadows in the corridors froze, then moved more aggressively. Crew members fought desperately, courage clashing against fear and betrayal. One by one, they regained small victories, doors sealed, lights stabilized, shadows confused. But the cost was high. 2 more crew members vanished, swallowed by the shadows. Harris's hands shook as he checked the monitors. We are barely holding them off. Every second is borrowed time. Elena whispered, we've learned something from every encounter. They adapt, yes, but we can predict patterns. If we survive this night, we can strike smarter next time. Jonas looked around at the battered crew. We survive, but we must remember this lesson. Defiance without understanding has a price. Fear, doubt, betrayal, it can destroy us from within. We cannot let it happen again. The station floated in silence once more, the shadows retreating slightly, the alien craft outside pulsing with energy, patient and relentless. Humanity had survived, but the cost was clear: loss, fear, and the bitter realization that defiance came with consequences. Elena stared at the monitors, her voice low. We have survived this battle, but the war is not over. They are watching, learning. And next time, they will come harder, smarter. We cannot fail. Captain Jonas nodded. Then we prepare. We adapt. And we remember that even in the darkest moments, humanity does not give up. Not now. Not ever. Somewhere in the void of space, the alien presence pulsed, aware of humanity's resilience, aware of their mistakes, and already anticipating the next confrontation. And inside the station, the crew knew one thing for certain: they had defied the unknown, paid the price, and survived. But the hardest trials were still ahead, testing not just their strength, but their very humanity. The station was battered but still standing. The remaining crew moved cautiously through the corridors, every shadow a threat, every sound a warning. They had survived attacks, betrayal, and fear, but the alien presence outside and inside the station was still there, patient and immense. Captain Jonas gathered the crew in the control room. "This is it," he said. "We've learned from every mistake, from every loss. We cannot fight blindly anymore. We have to be smart, precise, and united. This is our final chance." Elena studied the monitors. The aliens test us, yes. They adapt, yes. But they also react to patterns, signals, and thought. If we manipulate the station carefully, we can regain control and force them to respond. It's risky, but it's our only chance. Harris checked his pulse rifle. "We've lost too many already. One more mistake, and that's it. Are we ready for this?" Jonas looked at them all. "We are humanity. We are smart, we are strong, and we never give up. That's why we are still here. That's why we survive." The crew split into teams, moving through the station with a single goal: stabilize the systems, control the signal, and trap the alien presence. Elena and Jonas worked at the main console, feeding a distorted energy pulse through the station, using the knowledge they had gained from every attack. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the station trembled, but slowly they regained control over the corridors and doors. Outside, the alien craft pulsed violently, sensing resistance. Shadows moved aggressively inside, testing the crew's courage and patience. But this time, the humans were prepared. Each move was calculated, each decision precise. They guided the shadows into areas of temporary containment, using their own systems against the aliens. Elena whispered to Jonas, "We're close. If this works, we can push them back, at least long enough to stabilize the station and send a warning to Earth." Jonas nodded. "Do it." The energy pulse surged. The alien craft outside recoiled, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. Shadows in the corridors convulsed, flickering, and then retreated momentarily. The humans pressed on, using every advantage, every bit of ingenuity, every ounce of courage. Harris fired at shadows approaching too quickly, while other crew members repaired systems that had been sabotaged. The station groaned and rattled, but it held. And then, a sudden calm. The pulse stabilized, the corridors quieted, and the alien presence hesitated. For the first time, the humans had gained the upper hand, not by brute force, but by intelligence, coordination, and determination. Elena exhaled. "It's working. They are responding to us. They hesitate." Captain Jonas looked out the viewport at the alien craft. It was massive, patient, and powerful, but it was no longer entirely in control. "This is humanity," he said quietly. "We survive, because we think, because we adapt, because we never give up." The remaining crew worked quickly to stabilize the station completely and prepare a warning transmission for Earth. The signal was fragile, but it carried both knowledge and caution. Humanity had survived a test, but the universe held forces far older and stronger than humans could fully comprehend. Elena watched the monitors. "They are watching still, but they know we are not weak. We have learned, and we have survived. That is our strength." The shadows faded, the corridors returned to normal, and the station systems hummed steadily. Humanity had survived the test of defiance, but the lesson was clear. Curiosity and courage were strengths, but recklessness had consequences. The crew had paid a high price, and the losses would never be forgotten. Captain Jonas turned to the crew. "We are alive. We have endured. And we have learned something that no training or technology can teach. Humanity is clever, humanity is brave, and humanity will survive even the darkest threats. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human." Elena nodded, feeling both relief and pride. "We defied the unknown, yes. But we did it wisely, together. That's why we survived." Harris looked out the viewport, seeing the alien craft hover silently in the distance. "They are still out there, watching, waiting. But we are ready. We are not the same humans they encountered before. The station floated in the silence of space. Humanity had survived, not because of strength alone, but because of courage, ingenuity, and unity. The aliens had tested them, and humanity had endured. And somewhere deep in the void, the alien presence pulsed, aware that humanity had passed its trial. Patient, intelligent, and eternal, it withdrew, for now, but it had learned something too. Humanity was clever. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity would not be easily controlled. The crew exhaled collectively, exhaustion and relief mingling with determination. They had faced the impossible, defied the unknown, and survived. They had learned that curiosity came with a price, but courage and intelligence were humanity's greatest weapons. And above all, they had learned that humanity would never surrender. Not to fear. Not to shadows. Not to the unknown. The stars outside the station shone quietly, indifferent but beautiful, and humanity, small but unbroken, floated among them, ready for whatever came next.